The cross arrived with the mathematical precision of a guided missile. It was a high, inviting arc that bypassed the midfield congestion and found the exact pocket of space where legends are born. For 2 decades, this specific trajectory served as the trigger for a predictable kind of violence. We all knew what came next. The explosive vertical leap, the impossible hang time, and the downward header that left goalkeepers reaching for shadows. But as the ball reached its apex over the turf in Qatar, the physics of the moment changed. Cristiano Ronaldo did not jump. He did not mistime his run. He did not engage in a physical struggle with the defender from the Democratic Republic of Congo. He simply stood still. He watched the ball float past him as if it were a memory he could no longer touch. A defender ranked 73rd in the world cleared the ball with the nonchalant ease of a man cleaning his driveway. The threat had vanished. The predator was gone. That single moment of immobility was not just a missed chance, it was a definitive signal that the most feared aerial presence in football history had become a spectator in his own jersey. We are watching the slow-motion collapse of an empire. While the rest of the world's elite players used the opening week of this tournament to burnish their legacies, Portugal attempted to navigate a World Cup match with 10 active players and a monument. The truth is uncomfortable, and the pundits are terrified of saying it out loud, but the evidence is now undeniable. Portugal is no longer playing with Cristiano Ronaldo. They are playing for him. There is a profound difference between a team led by a legend and a team haunted by one. The contrast across the opening fixtures was staggering. It felt like the universe was intentionally mocking the decline of the Portuguese captain. Just 24 hours before Ronaldo took the pitch, Lionel Messi reminded the world what an aging genius looks like when he accepts the reality of time. Messi dismantled Algeria with a hat trick, moving level with Miroslav Klose as the joint highest scorer in World Cup history with 16 goals. It is a tally that is now exactly double what Ronaldo has managed in 5 tournaments. Elsewhere, the future was arriving in a hurry. Kylian Mbappé netted twice to become France's all-time leading goalscorer. Erling Haaland marked his debut with a brace that felt like a changing of the guard. The stage was perfectly set for Ronaldo to offer a rebuttal. He had the chance to become the first human being to score in 6 different World Cups. He had the opportunity to silence the noise. Instead, Portugal labored to a pathetic 1-1 draw against a Congo side that hadn't seen a World Cup pitch in 52 years. Ronaldo was a ghost. He was a vacuum in the center of the attack that sucked the life out of every creative movement. The numbers from that night aren't just a bad stat line. They are a forensic report on a broken tactical system. Portugal held 75% of the ball. They dictated the tempo, controlled the zones, and owned the rhythm of the game. Yet, for all that dominance, they managed a single shot on target in 90 minutes of football. That goal came from João Neves, a young midfielder doing the work the strikers wouldn't. Congo, with only a quarter of the possession, created more clear-cut chances and finished the game with a higher expected goals total. At the epicenter of this paralysis was the man for whom the entire national project has been repurposed. Ronaldo finished the match with 25 touches. That is the lowest involvement of any Portugal outfield player who remained on the pitch for the full duration. He was a passenger in a high-speed vehicle. He registered 3 shots, none of which bothered the goalkeeper. This marks the 6th time in his World Cup career that he has failed to test the keeper once in a full game. There is a specific kind of sadness in watching a player who once demanded the ball now seemed to hide from it. One analyst pointed out that Ronaldo wasn't even doing things incorrectly. He was doing nothing at all. There was no spectacular miss for a highlight reel. There was no shanked volley to spark a social media debate. There was only a void. For over an hour, the most prolific goal scorer in the history of the sport contributed less to the collective effort than the kit man. When the service finally did arrive, 2 perfect cutbacks from the byline, he fluffed them both. These were not difficult chances for a player of his caliber. The Ronaldo of 2018 or 2021 would have converted them with his eyes closed. That player is gone. This version of the man has now gone 10 consecutive games at major tournaments without scoring a single goal. That is over 800 minutes of top-tier international football without a contribution. His last non-penalty goal at this level was in the summer of 2021. This is not a slump. This is the end. It is an era finishing in public, and everyone can see it except for the two men who hold the keys to the lineup. The second missed chance against Congo was more than a technical failure. It was a revelation of character. As the ball fell to Ronaldo, Bruno Fernandes was positioned directly behind him with a wide-open view of the goal. If Ronaldo had left the ball or even just moved an inch to the left, Fernandes would have had a tap-in. Instead, Ronaldo's ego took over. He prioritized his own drought over the team's lead. He got in the way of the pass, tried to manufacture a shot from an impossible angle, and wasted the opportunity. Thierry Henry, providing analysis for the global broadcast, was uncharacteristically blunt. He noted that the team's objective is to score, not to facilitate one individual's redemption arc. By refusing to act as a decoy or a teammate, Ronaldo killed Portugal's best chance to win the game. This is the fundamental Ronaldo problem. The drought has made him desperate. The desperation has made him selfish. And that selfishness is actively stripping Portugal of their final chance at international glory. The question we have to ask is why he was still on the pitch after 90 minutes. This is where the blame shifts from the 41-year-old player to the coward in the technical area. Roberto Martinez is a manager who seems to have traded his tactical authority for the privilege of standing near greatness. During the Congo match, Martinez made changes. He took off Bernardo Silva at halftime. He removed Pedro Neto after 70 minutes. When he finally realized he needed a different profile up front and brought on Gonçalo Ramos, the man he substituted was not the invisible striker. It was Vitinha. He removed his most creative midfield engine just to keep a static, non-functional Ronaldo on the field. The pattern is sickeningly familiar. At Euro 2024, Martinez substituted Ronaldo in only one of his 5 games. The hierarchy is clear. Every player in that dressing room is subject to the laws of performance and accountability, except for the one player who needs them most. Chris Sutton described the situation on the BBC as embarrassing, and he was being kind. Martinez is not the manager of this team. He is a facilitator. In Lisbon, fans have stopped calling him the coach. They call him Ronaldo's assistant. Martinez's post-match comments were a masterclass in gaslighting. He argued that it makes no sense to remove the best goal scorer in history when you are chasing a goal. But he is talking about a player who lives in the past tense. He is naming a ghost and using that ghost's reputation to justify the continued presence of a man who no longer performs. The data is merciless, and it does not care about the 5 Ballon d'Ors in the trophy cabinet. Across Portugal's last 4 major tournament matches, Ronaldo has played nearly every single minute. In that time, the team has managed exactly 1 goal. When Ronaldo starts, Portugal averages 1.9 goals per game. That number is significantly inflated by a 9-goal outlier against a weak Armenia side. When he does not start, the team's average jumps to 2.8 goals per game. The squad is measurably, demonstrably, and statistically better when he is on the bench. It is impossible to watch the Congo match and not realize that Portugal would have won if their captain had simply stayed in the hotel. This is not a conversation about age. Aging is inevitable, but how a player handles it is a choice. Lionel Messi is old. He has lost his burst of speed. He can no longer beat 5 men in a phone booth. But Messi adapted. He dropped into the midfield. He became a primary creator, using his vision and spatial awareness to let younger, faster players like Julian Alvarez and Enzo Fernandez run beyond him. Argentina built a cohesive unit around a legend who accepted a supporting role. Portugal has done the opposite. They have built a team around a legend who refuses to evolve. Ronaldo still demands to be the focal point. He still wants every cross directed at his head. He still wants to take every free kick despite a conversion rate that has plummeted into the abyss. Anything Messi could do this week, Ronaldo couldn't even attempt. He could only stand in the box and wait for service that he no longer has the mobility to reach. It is a tragedy of his own making, but he is not the only culprit. If you are indulged for decades, if every manager picks you regardless of form, and if a stadium full of people screams your name every time you touch the ball, you would believe you were immortal too. The quest for 1,000 career goals has become a prison. He is chasing a personal milestone while the national team's window of opportunity is being slammed shut by his own hand. There is a version of this story where Ronaldo is a devastating weapon off the bench. He could be a 30-minute specialist, a psychological nightmare for tired defenders. But that requires humility. It requires starting on the bench. The problem isn't that Ronaldo is in the squad. He is an icon and a leader. The problem is that he is the untouchable center of the universe. This institutional weight affects every blade of grass on the pitch. When the striker doesn't press, the midfielders have to cover double the ground. When the striker doesn't move into the channels, the wingers like Rafael Leão have no space to cut inside. The entire pitch shrinks. We are watching a golden generation of Portuguese talent being sacrificed on the altar of nostalgia. Players like Diogo Jota, Bernardo Silva, and Pedro Neto are in their absolute prime. They are elite athletes playing at the highest levels of club football. Yet, when they put on the national shirt, they look like they are playing with a ball and chain attached to their ankles. They are terrified to shoot because they are looking for the man in the number 7 shirt. They are afraid to cross unless it's aimed at him. The tactical prison created by his presence is suffocating the most talented group of players Portugal has ever produced. They are at risk of throwing away a 3rd consecutive major tournament because a manager is too frightened to make the one call that every objective observer has already made. The statue isn't going to score. It can't anymore. The physics of modern football have moved past him. The speed of the transition game has left him in the dust. Watching him stand still while that Congo defender cleared the ball was like watching a master clockmaker try to fix a digital processor with a hammer. It was the wrong tool for the wrong era. There is a cruel, systemic detail to this particular World Cup appearance. Ronaldo shouldn't have even been on the pitch for the opening match. He was supposed to be serving a suspension following a red card in a qualifying match against Ireland. However, in a move that reeks of institutional interference, he was granted a suspended ban. He walked onto the pitch because FIFA and the broadcast partners need his face on the screen. The commercial machine demanded his presence, even if his form didn't. One media outlet's player rating was a single sentence: Gianni Infantino shouldn't have bothered. If the rules had been enforced, Portugal would have been forced to find a new way to play. They might have discovered a shape that worked. They might have seen what life looks like without the monument. Instead, the favoritism designed to protect the Ronaldo brand ended up sabotaging the Portuguese team. This wasn't a series of isolated mistakes. It was exactly how the system was designed to work. The entire infrastructure of the Portuguese Football Federation has become a support system for a single ego rather than a quest for a trophy. The financial interests of the FPF are tied to his image. The sponsors pay for the brand. The television networks pay for the silhouette. The team is secondary to the spectacle. The tragedy isn't that he's failing. Every great athlete eventually fails. The tragedy is that he is the only one in the building who doesn't seem to know it. He is chasing 1,000 goals while his country is chasing a win they cannot find as long as he is standing in their way. The lights of the stadium are bright, but they only reveal the outline of a player who isn't there anymore. The leap that didn't happen against Congo is the loudest sound in Portuguese football right now. It is the sound of a window closing. For 20 years, he carried this nation on his back. He gave them a pride and a status they had never known. But now, the roles have reversed. They are the ones carrying him, and the weight is becoming impossible to bear. The sunset is here, but the lights are being forced on by a manager and a federation that are terrified of the dark. A legend is a beautiful thing until it becomes a ghost that haunts its own house. The image of Ronaldo standing still while the world moved around him will be the defining memory of this collapse. He is a man frozen in his own history. Can a team win a World Cup with a monument in the 6-yard box? The answer was written in the silence of that missed header. Time defeats every champion, and it has finally caught the one who thought he could outrun it. The shadow is getting longer with every minute he stays on the pitch. The only real question left is whether anyone in that locker room is brave enough to finally move the monument and let the team breathe again. The tragedy will continue as long as the lights stay on. It is time to walk away.